welcome to the show. Oh, you are being so kind. Way too kind. Thank you very much. Oh, man, having a live audience is the best thing. Thank you very much for coming to the Shut-In Show. Thank you. My name is Danny Parker, and I am your host for today's show. Thank you. You guys are way too kind. Welcome. Today, we're adding a bit more fun and a bit more sprucing things up. We got new lights from my neighbor upstairs. We got the demo intro, and it went, okay, please don't tell Anthony. I promised him it would be great. So, welcome guys. Thank you for being here. I'm super excited to have you here today. Let's just kick things off with a little bit of good news. All right. So, since the beginning of the month, here we are. Since the beginning of the month, the National Guard has been deployed to help out at food banks across the state. So Governor Inslee heard that over 75% of the usual food bank volunteers and workers are unable to do their jobs. A lot of retired people fall into that category. A lot of, including Amanda's grandmother, she helps out at a food bank, but she's in a vulnerable group, so doesn't really feel safe doing that. And in fact, a lot of people are not being allowed to come in, even though they want to help. So the National Guard has been sent in to help out distribute food, sorting, packing, doing all this stuff. This is another great use of our existing infrastructure for things like this. I'm glad that we're making this stuff happen. Way to go, Governor Inslee. Way to go, National Guard. Oh, it sounds a little quiet to me. Let's make... There we go. All right. Moving on to our next item of good news. Spokane has received $91 million from the federal government to support relief efforts in the city. Now, Spokane County Commissioner Al French, an elected official, has said that he's going to be focusing on primarily getting businesses back on the road. But there's a lot of different opinions about what we should be doing with this money, what we can be doing with this money. But it's generally up to him and two other people to make that happen. So this is a pretty unique thing, as Spokane is only one of 5 cities in the state of Washington that even qualify for the CARES Act that granted this money. We are second biggest in the city. I think the cutoff, or second biggest in the state. I think the cutoff for our size, for the size, is 500,000 people within the limits. So our county, and it goes county by county, has well over that. Moving on to more good news. So stimulus checks are hitting all across the U.S. People in stable financial positions, people who don't need the money as much, are donating their stimulus checks. This is another great example of the American spirit of abundance, right? We don't have to be thinking in terms of only scarcity, but abundance. I don't need this, so I'm going to support my local restaurant by giving a $1,200 tip. Now, I know this is not realistic or likely for a lot of people, but it's just exciting to see some people who can giving and making that impact count. This image is of a restaurant, I think it was somewhere in the Midwest, where they had 12 employees, they had to go down to 4, and basically they were struggling to get through this season, and somebody got their check and just, yep, here you go. How much was it? $25? Okay, $1,225. Here you go. It allowed them to give $100 at the minimum to every person that was on their staff, whether they're currently working or not. These sorts of stories really warm my heart, and it just helps remind me that we've got a lot going for us in terms of the human spirit and the American spirit in this time. I am feeling like I'm feeling like this is a thing that like should and can be celebrated. All right. Now, in terms of maybe less financially responsible ways to spend your money, Hamilton is coming to Spokane. This time next year, you could be sitting during a showing of Hamilton in Spokane, Washington. Now, the only way to get access to these tickets right now is to buy the Best of Broadway season tickets. Now, that's $355 per seat for, I think you get 6 or 5 shows out of that deal. It's something that I've been wanting to do for a while. Some of our friends have done it and they've really enjoyed it, but it's definitely spendy. So if you can afford it, go get your Hamilton tickets. They're on sale. You just have to buy 5 other shows or 4 other shows at the same time. Those other shows, by the way, are Anastasia, like that. It's not Disney, but it might be Disney. Anyways, Anastasia, the Russian princess thing. Cats, you can see it live if you missed it in theaters. Come From Away, which I'm not familiar with, but I've heard is quite good. Hamilton, of course, and then Fiddler on the Roof. Pretty stacked lineup. Spokane has been doing a pretty good job of bringing these shows in, and I'm hoping to go see at least Hamilton when we figure out all that stuff. So, let's move on to our next segment, self-care for today. So, today's self-care tip is to play Tetris. A research study in 2019 from some university in California on university students showed that during stressful and uncertain times, including a lot of waiting, participants in the studies who played Tetris showed a significant reduction in stress and anxiety and an influx in positive emotions when engaged in what the researchers called a flow-inducing activity. So Tetris was the replicatable thing that they could have everybody do. Tetris and other video games are really great at inducing what's called this flow state. Now, if you're not familiar with the flow state, another way to say it would be to be in the zone. That instance where you're feeling challenged, but not so challenged that it's too hard and not challenged enough so you're getting bored. You're feeling the challenge and you're meeting the challenge in a continual raising challenge level. Now, Tetris does this really well because obviously it just increases the speed as far as you go. Other video games can induce a flow state. I tend to play StarCraft, and when I get in the mode of, I'm getting so good at this, I lose time and I just get into the game, and it's really enjoyable. The flow state for a lot of people is where they find their calm, their relax, and their like you feel like your brain is working as best as it possibly can. So, yeah, definitely when you're feeling stressed during this time, think about what are the things that you really enjoy and can challenge you. So a lot of things are not as challenging these days, right? Like we don't have the typical things in our lives that really get us working or playing. These things aren't the same as they used to be, and so we're a little bit easier. It's a little bit harder to find those things. So maybe finding a game like Tetris that's really chill that you can play during a moment of waiting or sort of anxiety to calm down. Now, one thing I do want to say is just to get stuck playing one thing hoping that you're going to feel better over time is not the only goal, right? Our goal is to identify that we might be feeling something, to pause, and then to choose to do something about it, whether it's to play Tetris or to take a drink of water or to take a walk. Yeah, that's something that I would say that I'm trying to instill in myself, is that if I'm feeling weird or stressed during this time, finding a moment to say, oh, this is what's happening, and then to choose to do something else. So I downloaded Tetris on my phone today. I'm hoping to get into it and play a little bit. I think all of us could benefit from a little bit of lower anxiety and reduction of stress and an influx in positive emotions. Now, yes, one more quote from this researcher. Flow requires a delicate balance. Flow is most readily achieved with activities that challenge the person somewhat, but not too much. have clear, achievable goals, and that provide a person with feedback about how they're doing along the way. Now, this reminds me, I was going to say, oftentimes you can feel like you're having flow during a conversation. Conversations are a great place that we feel a lot of positive things, and oftentimes those in-person cues, right? You're having success or not success. Generally, when you're hanging out with somebody you enjoy, you're getting a lot of positive feedback about how your conversation is going. So, a question for the chat: what gets you in the zone? Where do you find that flow? I do want to know, and I want to encourage you to get out there and try it. Josh Crow says, try the Disc Golf Valley free app. That's a seems like a fun way to play some phone games. All right, let's talk about our next tech tools segment. This was pretty fun for me last time, so I'm going to keep trying to come up with some interesting tech tools. You may be familiar with this image. I don't know the name of this girl, but I know you can find her in an infinite loop of lo-fi chill beats on the YouTube page Chilled Cow. Now, the tech tools for today is go find yourself a source for lo-fi beats. You're listening to some right now behind everything, but basically lo-fi hip-hop and in its myriad genres has helped me get through so many things to do with my education, so many things right now in this season to just kind of relax into something that gets me into that flow state. For me, recently, I've been painting a lot of miniatures. I've got tons on my desk right now. These little guys are really enjoyable for me to get into and to paint and to try different things and to feel creative. And oftentimes I'm listening to a podcast or I'm listening to just those lo-fi beats. A lot of times I just have these things going on at a low volume behind everything I do on my computer, whether that's a video chat, whether that's playing a game using a different video chat thing, whether that's playing video games and playing StarCraft or painting minis and listening to an audiobook. They're so relaxed and they're so they can so easily fade into the background that lo-fi beats really sort of accentuate and establish this relaxed environment for my whole office, really. It's really nice to say, like, okay, I'm gonna get into doing this task or doing something and to just have it going. And like I said before, I have it going during video games and during video chats because oftentimes video chats can be stressful, they can be long or annoying, and really having something going on in the background as you're switching between tasks helps you continue a feeling of flowing and progression. Similar to how in a movie, when you've got a soundtrack behind something, I realize this as a video editor, when you put any song that continues behind any myriad of clips, basically you've connected all those things in the mind of the reader, or the viewer rather, much more readily than if you had just placed them all with their audio kind of disparately coming together. So having that backtrack between all of your different tasks is something that I really recommend. So go check it out. Type in just lo-fi anywhere on Spotify or YouTube, but my favorite is called Chilled Cow, and it's got this image in a looping animation, and this is just one of many, but go try it out. I've talked too much about it. Well, to talk a little bit more about some more music, let's talk about one of my favorite bands, My Brothers and I. Now, ironically, my brother Luke and I have seen these guys probably 3 or 4 times. I think we were first introduced to them. They opened up for Alan Stone. And man, it was really enjoyable. These guys are just fun. They're funky. They're from Portland. They are all siblings except for, I think, the guitarist who's on that far right there. They've recently come out with a couple of new songs, and I want to play just a little bit of one of them for you now. Let's see how we do it.
Last night I struggled to say how I'm feeling, 'cause I've never done this and it isn't easy. So please be patient while I find my footing. Cause I wanna learn, wanna get better for you. I don't know how I did the first 22 years without you, 22 years without you. Cause now I barely can go half a day without you, half a day. Guess this is long distance, long distance, long distance for you. Guess this is long distance, long distance, long distance for you.
I hope you're enjoying that. I'm trying to keep these musical segments a little shorter. I know that sometimes they can drag on, but I love this band. Go check them out, My Brothers and I, on Spotify. I'll put the description. I'll put the link in the description of the video. We use their music in our wedding. That's how much we love this band. So they've got, I think, 2 full albums, a couple of great covers, and some new music. It seems like they're getting ready to launch a whole new album, so I'm very excited. For the chat, it looks like I'm seeing a lot of rock climbing and cycling. Tetris increases the speed at which cuss words come out of Clint's mouth. Yeah, I feel that. Cycling is a really an excellent way to get into the flow space. Flow, oftentimes, if you can sort of lose track of time and just continue onwards, that seems to be an easier intro to that. I might talk about flow a little bit more on the show later. It's something that I'm really passionate about. But for now, thank you guys for being here. That's all for this episode. Take a shower, call your folks, go for a walk. This has been The Shut-In Show. I'm Danny Parker.